taken over for me yesterday, and all that good stuff. That was not a fun evening I had.
No, it didn't seem like it would be. I've had food poisoning myself, and it is definitely not fun
I've never had it.
whatsoever.
It was the worst. So it was the first time where my stomach was physically hurting. It wasn't just like, because usually when I say like my stomach hurts, it's usually like nausea. And but
Yeah,
this time it was like literally, it was like my stomach was physically hurting, like something was stabbing it, and I was like, oh my god, what's happening? Uh,
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's pretty terrible.
it's not fun. It wasn't. It actually didn't even last that long. I thought that they would
No,
last longer than it did, but thank goodness.
no. Usually, like all the effects, like from when it starts, shortly after, an hour or so after you eat whatever it is that you ate, and usually you start feeling better within about 12 hours.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
Sometimes a little bit longer, depends on how much of it you ate, but your body's pretty good at getting rid of shit it doesn't want.
Yeah. Yeah. I threw up a few times, more than a few times, and then was good to go. Well, it wasn't good to
Yeah.
go, but basically I started to feel better.
Yeah, that's like the only positive about, like, of all the things that can mess with your GI system is food poisoning goes pretty quickly. Yeah. And riveting talk for LR Mornings. Good morning, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome to LR Mornings. I'm with you want to mess me up all the time. Why do you keep doing
you
that?
just have to go with it, man. You can't
I-
keep making excuses. Is that what you do
God
your
damn it.
entire life? Just make excuses? Sounds like
Yeah,
it.
what? Yeah, you just go your entire life ruining fucking intros.
Yeah.
So
Are
welcome
you
to
gonna finish
LR
the intro?
Mornings
Okay.
with Kyle and Jammer. I'm Kyle,
I'm Jammer.
and I'm mad at him.
All right, but like, so I just talked. Damn it! I had a whole intro ready to go, and you fucked it up. See, we do that to each other. Interesting stuff for yesterday. You got a couple interesting pieces of news that I definitely want to talk
We
about.
did.
I want to talk
Okay,
about.
what do you want to talk about?
Well, let's start with something that's pretty high profile, shall we say?
Mm,
Lord of the Rings as a director
Mm.
for the first 2 episodes of Amazon Studios. This is a series, and that is J.A. Bayona, the guy who did The Orphanage, and the guy who
Mhm.
did Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, he's heading over to Middle Earth. What do you think about that?
you know, really haven't seen too much from him. So that's potentially a good thing. Look at all the directors from a lot, well, not all, but look at a lot of the directors from the Marvel films, A lot of them have a light filmography on IMDb. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think horror directors do a good job of lending themselves to bigger productions. I mean, you could
Mhm.
say what you will about Fallen Kingdom as far as what the actual story was, but I think overall the direction wasn't bad. I think it had some pretty cool moments within it. Even if you didn't like the movie itself, which is fine, I understand that. But I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool. I actually genuinely don't have that much to say. I love The Orphanage. I thought that was a great movie. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's a Spanish language movie. It was presented by like Guillermo del Toro and all that, so it was pretty cool. One of those movies.
I just question this Lord of the Rings show in general. I like fantasy, but I'm not a huge fantasy fan, which is weird because I love Final Fantasy games. But when it comes to like high fantasy novels, movies, they're fun. They're fun for like one shots for me. Like, I saw all of the Lord of the Rings and all the Hobbit films in theaters, and then I've watched them all on home video like once, maybe some of the Lord of the Rings ones twice. That's it. And it takes a lot for me, like, mentally, to sit down and watch and enjoy those. So I don't really know if I would enjoy a show, multiple seasons long. Are they going to do like one season per book?
So clearly you're not a Game of Thrones fan. It's not one season per book. It's going to be a prequel series based on all of the additional material surrounding Middle Earth leading up to Lord of the Rings. So it's not going to be a readaptation of the story.
I remember reading that, and I remember even talking about that back when that was first announced, and I don't know why it slipped my brain, but yeah. Even with that, being said, and no, Game of Thrones, we've had this conversation on Los Fanboys. I think the only season I watched in its entirety was 5, and then I've caught episodes from each other season and talked to my wife who religiously watches it and or watched it since it's ended now, and they're fine. It's just not. It doesn't get my blood pumping like a Marvel movie or like Star Wars or a round of Team Fortress 2 on the computer.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand what you mean by the whole like one-off thing, because I mean, for me, at least personally, I mean, to be fair, I haven't watched the Hobbit movies very often, but that's because they're not very good. But the Lord of the Rings movies, I've watched those things more times than I could possibly count. So many times.
Yeah.
Like, I know those things almost verbatim, you know? They're so good. And considering for me the source material, I mean, I know everyone loves they love Tolkien, but I don't. I get the appeal world building wise, but his writing style is so dry and it's so blah, and I hate it.
Yeah.
So it's not character driven at all, as opposed to someone like George R. R. Martin, where his writing style is 100% different. It's yes, there's world building stuff, but it's all sort of embedded in character and characters' motivations and their pasts and their perspectives and all that. So it's like it's very easy to glom onto something that you care about because it's so embedded in character. Whereas everything in Lord of the Rings is all about the world in terms of writing. So that was also very surprising for me, just how much. For me, once again, I understand the appeal, but how much better the movies were than the books.
Yeah.
I know Cam is rolling in wherever he is, not in his grave because he's not dead, but he's rolling somewhere because I know
he's screaming at the speakers right now, listening to this.
Pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. I'm definitely going to, try it. I know my wife will be all about it. So it'll be on in the house somewhere. we definitely have Amazon Prime, so I'm interested to see what they do, because even things that I'm not really into, somebody can take it and do the right thing with it and make it something that I really enjoy. So I'm not closed-minded to it.
Cool.
Just because I'm not a big high fantasy guy, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. So
awesome. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and actually I don't even know if we're going to have that much to say about it, because I honestly don't. Little Mermaid has cast its Ariel. It's Ariel. It took me several times of like, Halle Berry? Nope, that's not right. Halle Berry? Nope, that's not right. Halle Bailey. Like, it's really hard to say. Or at least because mentally you keep wanting to autocorrect it to Halle Berry. But yeah, some girl named Halle Bailey. I've read up on her online. It seems like a lot of people love her because she has a great voice. I have never heard her sing. I've never seen her in anything. She's been in things like Last Holiday and Grownish, among other stuff. And yeah, it's one of those situations where I don't know much about her filmography, and I can't really say much. So, okay.
Yeah, my opinion on Disney princess movies.
That you don't care about them?
I do not give two shits about them.
Well, here's some.
I don't like the singing. I made a joke because there's obviously a topic with her casting that is wild across
her race. She's not white.
Yeah, wild across the internet. And
is it wild? Are people actually caring about it?
Yeah. There's a lot of conversations on Twitter about it.
Because I haven't seen any of it. I've been looking and I haven't found anyone really complaining about it.
Yeah. Go to the comment sections of like the Hollywood Reporter and you'll see some stuff. The article on Yahoo News had like a lot of people commenting on both sides. But I went on Twitter and I voiced my outrage. I said, "What? I can't believe this. This will not stand. Disney has gone too far. I am disgusted. How's this getting a live action remake before The Sword in the Stone?"
To which I say,
garbage.
To which I say, I agree. I would actually really love to see a Sword in the Stone live action movie. But then again, that's just another King Arthur story, so never mind.
Yeah, I just wanted to play with the outrage game.
Sure.
and troll people into thinking I was complaining about one thing when I was really complaining about another.
Did it work?
For a couple people that follow me, they thought it was hilarious, which it was. It was truly.
I love how proud of yourself of it.
Genius.
Good for you. I'm glad you. I love it when one is able to make jokes that they're like really proud of.
Yes, like my title from one of my articles this past weekend. That was
What
great.
was it again?
The Hellraiser one.
Oh, that wasn't that clever, dude.
That was awesome.
Okay.
It's not about whether or not it was clever. It was good in its cheesiness because no one else online had done it.
Okay.
Which I was really surprised about because it's really cheesy, like obvious line. Hellraiser to start raising hell on TV. Come on now, like somebody should have beaten me to that.
I guess. So staying along the same lines of race, we got, and sticking to something that maybe you're a little bit more passionate about, anime adaptations, manga adaptations,
Yes.
things like that. We've known for a while that Taika Waititi from Thor Ragnarok, director of Thor Ragnarok, he is directing an Akira film, and yeah, he said on multiple occasions, he's like, yeah, I would totally be race appropriate for these things. So there's a lot of character stuff that we've got released thanks to I think it's backstage.com. It's this casting website, and it's like for an untitled Warner Brothers movie, and we have all of these Asian characters that we need to fill. It's like, I wonder what that could be. And if you know anything about the manga or the anime and you read these descriptions, it's like, oh, very clearly this is for Akira, like clearly. But it's pretty cool. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 big characters that they're casting, and they're all calling for Asian. The first 3 are specifically going to be playing as Japanese, or first 4. No, first 3, and then the other ones are just sort of general Asian, which is it's still fine. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And they say like English speaking Japanese is a plus and all that. So it looks like they're really going to be incorporating that aspect into the story. It may still be, for all we know, take place in Neo New York or something, not Neo Tokyo. Maybe it will be Neo Tokyo. Who knows? Like it's hard to say.
It should be.
It doesn't have to be honest. Like it could take place in New York, and we could just deal with Asian characters. There's nothing wrong with that either. I don't see why Neo Tokyo is crucial to the story. Do you? Other than the fact that the original took place in Neo Tokyo.
You know me, I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm big on source material. So,
But why? Why Neo Tokyo?
I feel like anime adaptations suffer from changes very often, and it's other than some of the ones that are done in Japan, but we've already discussed why Japan's own anime adaptations aren't great. Maybe we should try a not 100% strict word for word, shot for shot, but maybe we should try as much world and characters straight from the pages or straight from the source material as possible. Maybe we should give that a shot this time.
But the downside of that is you can't really adapt as big of a story as Akira into 2 hours by doing a shot for shot, page for page.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't want a shot for shot, page for page. But
what are you saying then?
The characters and the setting.
Okay. I mean, the problem is that you do that, then we basically have mostly subtitles.
Well, look, we do it all the time in Hollywood, where you have something take place in a foreign country, and everybody speaks with a goddamn English accent in English. So just because it takes place in Neo Tokyo doesn't mean that they all have to be speaking Japanese. It could just be them speaking English.
I hate that.
So
you hit my pet peeve. I hit my pet peeve of things taking place in foreign countries and not actually speaking the language they would be speaking. That is a pet peeve of mine in movies.
I would be fine. I would be fine with at least. I mean, you have had this conversation before. Like, if you're going to take place in a movie somewhere in a Nordic country and you're speaking English, I'm okay with that. I am. But for the love of God, don't fucking use a fucking English accent, because Nordic countries have their own fucking accents. French movies that take place in France, the French have their own accent. Like, it's one thing to be like, we don't know what ancient Greeks sound like, because ancient English sounds completely, Old English sounds completely different than modern English. So yeah, ancient Greece might not sound like a lot of modern Mediterranean accents, but you could use a modern Mediterranean accent in place of it. So for the love, but I don't know. This movie is important to a lot of people. It's a lot of people's intro. Unfortunately, it's their intro to anime, or it might be at least their intro to film anime versus shows or OVAs. So this film holds a huge portion of people's like love of anime, and I don't know. I just want to see as much of it similar. I'm fine with some story. What's the word I'm looking for? Liberties and some interpretations, so long as the core is there. But I don't know. I really want to see Neo Tokyo. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it being Neo New York because New York is diverse by nature. So like, I'm totally like, it makes sense to have a bunch of Asian characters and stuff doing whatever. Like, I totally see that, and it's not weird if they're all speaking English. So you're to play Japanese, English speaking, blah blah blah. I'm trying to see if there's any indication of where it takes place. Probably not. No. What I think is funny here is they use fake names. They use June. Yeah. They use Koichi. They use Misa. They use Reina and stuff. And the descriptions are still very clear that there's Kaneda and Tetsuo as the leads, and Kei and Kaori. So that's pretty funny to me that it's very clear what this is for.
And they definitely don't want to deal with any minor labor laws, because everybody they're saying must be legal 18 to 20 to play, 17 to play, 18 to play, 17 to play, 18. So they don't want to deal with the stuff that the
child labor laws, except for
as far as how many hours they can work, this and that.
Except for some of the kid roles at the bottom of there, it's like male 10 to 12.
Yeah,
but obviously if you're gonna play a little kid, you can't be legal. But if you're gonna play 16, you're gonna be over 18, so that we can work full days with you, which I totally get.
Which I understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
I think
we'll see how it goes.
So
they got a good director.
They did get a good director. And it's a director that I'm curious, because I remember, because Akira, if you know, it's really serious. Have you read the manga or seen the movie?
Excuse me. I have seen the movie multiple times. I have read parts of the manga, never finished it.
I hate the movie. I don't like the movie. I don't understand.
Because it's only one part of it.
The animation is great. The movie is boring as fuck. Oh my god, it's so boring and it makes no sense. It's not one part necessarily. It tries to be a complete story, but it isn't. It's just nonsense because it just doesn't explain anything. But anyways, I didn't like the movie, but the manga is really good. If you have a chance, definitely check it out. It's definitely a lot more engaging, a lot more tangible, and less ethereal than the movie is. So yeah, definitely check that out. But what was I going to say about it? I'm really excited for this to see how he does it. He says he's basing it on the manga. I'm curious if it's going to be, part of a series or how that's going to work. But we have one comment that I'm curious to address here.
On the Akira?
Sorry?
On Akira?
Yeah. He says, I don't get the representation thing. Of course, the characters should be Asian because they are Asian in the original, but why isn't that true for white characters? If we replace a character that's always been white with someone of another race, it's hailed as progress, but if a white person takes a non-white role, it's racism and cultural appropriation. Even when there's some historical basis, like a Roman mercenary or soldier in ancient China, it's still called racism because the character's there. How do we measure representation? Asians are like 5.8% of the population. Should 5.8% of all film casts be Asian? That seems silly. The reason we see a smaller level of representation of Asians in American film is because few Asians in the United States find their way into the arts outside of the music, mostly due to their parentage. My friend Pai is from Laos, and he wanted to get into films, but his family told him growing up he was going to be a doctor or an engineer. He became an engineer and used his money to buy a restaurant/movie theater, so he wins, I guess. But that's another guy that might have made a difference in the industry. What are your thoughts onto this? I have my own that I will share, but I'm curious about yours.
Okay, so try to be... Okay, so there are some valid points when people are demanding representation of what does representation mean. Does representation mean equal to what you see white people in Hollywood getting roles? Does representation mean representation based on the population of the country that you're in? Representation is an interesting thing to discuss in and of itself. There's a valid argument for whenever you do switch a white character to another character or to another race, that if race wasn't important for that character to be white, why is it such a big deal? But there's also the idea of remaining true to source materials. There's a lot that goes into it, and both sides have valid feelings. People that try to invalidate other short of somebody just screaming white power, white rage, or some shit like that. People are fine to feel like, hey, this character was this originally, so why does it need to be changed? I've spoken with several minorities. I actually wanted to do a piece on this for the show, but my health took a turn for the worse, and the people I was working with, I no longer worked with, and it was back there in the discussion of rebooting Superman and using God, what is his name? Played Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, as a black Clark Kent. And so Nick did a big piece on race switching, and I was going to do kind of like a rebuttal to it with interviews with minority people here in my community and that I worked with. And overwhelmingly, a lot of them, there was a few that were like, yeah, absolutely, switch it up. But the majority of them were like, why can't we have our own characters? Why can't we have new characters that are equally as good? Like, why do we need to ride the coattails of some character that was white to begin with, is already made popular by white people to get our own movie? Like, they wanted to see original characters more than they wanted to see race switching. So there's a lot of stuff online where really the only two sides you really ever hear from are the we must race switch for diversity or the I want to remain true to source material. I see there's a lot of valid points and a lot of valid reasoning behind those points on all the sides, but I found it really interesting talking to a lot of minorities, which included mostly black, but a couple of Asians and a couple Hispanic people, that they would rather see their own like either new characters or characters that do exist, like in the Asian situation with Marvel, Shang-Chi. Let's finally get him to the big screen. They wanted to see more of that than race switching.
I see where you're coming from, and I see where they're coming from. I get that completely. But let me go address. Those are some really good points. But when it comes to, let's see here, the difference in, let's see, I'm trying to address his actual piece here. When it comes to historical basis, is Roman mercenary, blah, blah. It's called racism. So here is the deal. When it comes to representation, it is really hard. Well, first of all, actually, I'll address your points first on why I think sometimes race swapping is kind of essential. And it's because as much as, yes, we would love to have there be an original, like, for example, I would love there to be a more original Latino character, like, I guess they had Robbie Reyes for Ghost Rider, but does that count because it used to be white? I don't know, like in the comics before you turn, Latino. But it is really hard in entertainment to get anything original made, period.
Especially these days.
So the only way something could get made is, a lot of times, something big made is if it existed before. And because things were created decades and decades ago, there's a good chance they're probably white. So when it comes to the actual diverse batch of characters, they generally aren't very diverse. There's not that many to choose from. So it's like, yes, ideally we have our own characters, but because those original characters are much harder to get made, it's probably easier to just race swap and to get some representation in there if it's not essential to the character that they're white. So that's an argument for that. Yeah. In my eyes.
And it's valid.
Yeah. So that's the reason. I totally understand the other side of it, but that's where I'm coming from. And in terms of the Asian comment, like there's 5.8% of the population, blah, blah, blah. Should they be cast 5.8%? I think ideally, yes, But, obviously it doesn't always work out that way. In regards to the reason why we see smaller levels is because fewer Asians find their way into the arts. I think that is kind of an ignorant comment, and I don't mean it because you're wrong. I mean it because it's kind of impossible to know what percentage of actors out there or entertainers are Asian. Just because we don't see them on the big screen very often doesn't mean they don't exist. Very oftentimes we have roles that were meant for Asian characters that they just say, fuck it, let's go with a white character because it's easy. And a lot of times it's easier for white people to sort of rise up the ranks in Hollywood just because that's what people are used to seeing. So you get a lot of other Asian actors and talent out there who just are never given the chance because roles never call for it. You are very rarely given an opportunity to play a role unless it's specifically for an Asian character. So very rarely is it like, is it default Asian? If it's a default character, it's white 90% of the time. So I think that's the problem is that it's getting better in Hollywood, is that if there's a default character, generally it's white. And as a result, a lot of Asian actors and, a lot of every race actors aren't being able to rise up. So to say that there isn't 5.8% of Asian talent out there, period, I don't think is accurate. I mean, for all I know, it might be, but now that things are changing more, I think, and that casting directors are being more open to having default characters be other races other than white, I think we'll be able to get a better idea of how much talent there actually is out there. So slowly but surely, I think we're making progress. I think this Akira thing is really great. That they're having not only a main cast but supporting cast be Asian. I think it's long overdue. Did I address all the points? I wasn't sure. Do you remember?
I think you did.
Okay.
I think you did. Yeah. Like I said, that term representation, so many people take it different ways. As far as how much representation, and when you get to ratios and percentages, the arguments can easily get ridiculous and vile on all sides. The arguments can be well thought out, logical, and valid on all sides. It is not, for lack of a better phrase, this is not a black and white issue. There is a lot of gray area when it comes to representation in movies and what that means and how do you get there and what's the best approach. And there's a little bit of truth and good stuff to pull from everybody's point of view, because everybody has a point of view, and everybody with a point of view is looking to watch these movies and be entertained and connect with these films and TV shows.
And I think it all starts with Hollywood casting race-appropriate actors for specific roles. For example, Kung Fu Panda. Yeah. Jackie Chan was the only Chinese actor there out of all of the voice actors. Things like that. Like taking all those and actually casting race-appropriate people. It starts with that. And I'm not necessarily... I don't know about like, if it makes up this percentage of the population, that means that there should be that much representation in Hollywood. I don't think that's it. I just think that in America, we are not, 90% white. But if you were to watch like Hollywood movies, you would think that we are 90% white. It's that kind of overwhelming thing that I think needs work overall.
It's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And race appropriate casting, I think everybody should be for 100% on that.
Yeah.
So
just don't take potential opportunities away from, things like this. This is a perfect opportunity for Asian actors to do something. And in the past, they would switch it to white. And that's just happened. It's happened with Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell. It happened with Death Note.
Yeah.
It happened with Dragon Ball Evolution. It happens all the time. It happened with the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Just basically starts with taking the opportunities away from minorities that generally would naturally be with them. So,
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
On that side of it. So, man, we started off with a incredibly borderline toilet conversation. No, actually, it technically was toilet conversations.
Hey, man, what happens?
And we ended incredibly deep and political. All that in a single episode of LR Mornings. Ladies and gentlemen, where else are you going to get this? Nowhere. That's why you should be heading to LRMonline.com every single day for all of your entertainment news and needs, because you get riveting conversations like this in our writing. We got amazing writers constantly working on the website, working for you, because that's what we do. We work for you. So let us know what you want to see in the comments below. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel. Lots of great things coming to the YouTube channel. We are working on brand new video series as we speak. Okay, maybe not as we speak because it's like 7 a.m., but you get the point.
Yes.
Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to all that. There's trailer reactions, celebrity interviews. LR Mornings is on there, so definitely check it out. And the LRM Online Podcast Network, wherever you get podcasts, literally wherever you get podcasts these days, from Apple to SoundCloud and everything in between. You name it, we're there. Like, share, subscribe. Check out Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast on Monday. They're going to be going through a serious, in-depth Spider-Man Far From Home review. So make sure you check that out. LR Mornings every single Monday through Friday. LRM Ranks It will actually be hitting today with the most disappointing sequels with me and Nick Dahl. So look forward to that. And, of course, on Fridays, Los Fanboys. And there's a whole bunch of other great podcasts connected to LRM, like Geek Scholars News and Nerdflix and Chill's Comic Source podcast, things like that. Jammer, where can people find you at online?
You can find me on Twitter at Jam the Writer, and of course all my stuff at LRMonline.com. Also this week, BGR the P is going to be dropping a special episode surrounding Dark Web, the new series coming out on Amazon Prime. A video we talked to one of the main actors and directors of one of the anthology segments. And if you don't know what that means, you should look at our menu, like all the coverage we have of Dark Web on the site, where it kind of talks about what this unique show is all about and why there is a mix between serial and anthology segments within.
Yes, and check out last week's episode of Los Fanboys, where we got to speak with the director of the A Story, right? That's how we are. Yeah, the A Story.
Yep.
Is that how we labeled
That's
it?
how
Yeah.
we labeled it.
Very fun. Roxy was a very fun interview. Los Fanboys last week. Thank you guys so much. You can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter and doing a whole bunch of stuff for the website. We will. Oh, Happy Independence Day.
Oh yeah, Happy Independence Day.
Completely forgot to say that.
Yeah.
Happy Independence Day, everybody. Have a great one. Watch some Stranger Things later on today. That's what I'm going to be doing. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
One love.
Oh, God.